All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It's House Edge Live with hello. There we go, with John from Casino Gaming Central here on a Thursday. The last letter of the week is today. We're going to be going into some Friday Follies tomorrow. It is Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. So Friday Follies tomorrow. Just have some fun. I'm going to run the Edge Razor tomorrow, I think, just to have a good time. Heading into the big weekend, man. Seahawks got the Niners here this weekend. I'm actually going to be at the game Sunday, so that'll be exciting. Can't even wait for that. I hate to feel like I'm overconfident, but I am way overconfident for this game. I'm probably going to be my luck with sports. I'll be super let down, but I think this is this can be a good weekend. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the letter H today. And remember, we're going to talk a little bit through this as we get into it. But the casino, what is going on here? Why is my camera not on? Hello? 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 My camera went away. Oh, I know why. Hold on a second. I need to do this. Bang. Is that there? Oh, hello. I need to make that change on the other screens too. Yeah, I switched a couple things around. So anyway, the casino is in business for two reasons, right? One is to bankrupt you, right? The number one reason they exist is to bankrupt their customers. That's it. They're there to take all the customers' money and hopefully not give them anything in return other than a good time. That's it. That's the casino is there for literally that. If you get too good, and we'll talk about this today actually, you're out. They ban you, right? They don't want you. They don't want your action if God forbid you can beat them. Right? 100,000 people will go in there and lose their shirt. One guy can win, that guy's out. Literally how the casino works. So you're going at it also, as you'll learn today, with one hand tied behind your back. You just are. Right? You're fighting the house edge. You're fighting the negative expectation of all the games. So what I want to do with the series and with everything I do is basically this. I want you to learn what we call the bridge. Right? These concepts, simple concepts, that stack together give you a fighting chance to not get shot in the face. That's basically it, right? You're going to lose over time, just the way that it works. Can't help that unless your luck outweighs everything. Unless you find good variance, you're going to lose over time, right? How much you lose and how bad the beatings are depends on you. Depends on how you view your bankroll, right? Depends on how you understand your relationship with risk. It depends on your ability to identify when it's time to stay in and hammer it or get the hell out of there, right? It depends on your level of discipline, whether or not you set a goal, whether or not your emotions play into things. So that's kind of the impetus behind this series I've got called the ABCs of Gambling. And I'm really kind of going through every letter, try to think of interesting things that start with that letter that talk about our world in gambling. So today we're on the letter H. It's kind of the house rules episode, if you will. And know this, every time you walk in a casino, you're entering their house. They built it, they designed it, they set the rules. And the rules aren't arbitrary. Okay, they're engineered to give them edge. That's what it's all about, right? Understanding that edge doesn't make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. When you know how the casino thinks, you can make hopefully better decisions about how to play their games. Today it's going to be a lot about house edge, a little bit about house edge. The truth about hot streaks, why they don't mean what you think, what heat looks like, and why even recreational players ought to understand that and how to work with a casino host without fooling yourself about that relationship. So not about beating the house, right? It's about not getting beaten worse than you have to. All right, let's get into it. And again, I got to change my screen, it looks like here. The house edge, we're on the letter H, and my camera's on the wrong side. I got to go here. Hold on. I got to change two things as we do this. That one there and that one there. All right, there we are. Now we're popped in. All right, letter H. Just a few things to talk through today. One is going to be obviously the house edge, right? It's the casino's built-in profit, and it varies widely from game to game. We'll talk about the hit or stand decision in blackjack. And not so much I want to teach you how to play blackjack. It's more about the why that decision is so important. We'll talk about hedging, as well as hybrid play. There's two sort of things there. Hedging and hybrids are two sort of different things that we'll get into. We'll talk about heat, the casino scrutiny, when they suspect that you might have an advantage. We'll talk about your host relationship. Again, hosts' job is to retain customers. That's their job. They provide actual customer service, though. They like different than just walking in, right? Just remember that you're the product. And we'll close on hot streaks. So that's the plan for today. See a couple of comments out here. The casino has not done their job until the last check you wrote to them to pay your marker balances. That's the measure of success for the house, right? And that's a hell of a way of saying that, but probably true. All right, here we go. Let's hop in and jump in on. I think the first thing is the house edge, and there's the formula for it. It's not a very exciting one, but it's the formula. The house edge, by the way, it's not a mystery what this is. It's just the gap between what a fair bet would pay versus what the casino actually pays. That's what it basically is. Once you see the math, though, right, you'll not look at it the same way. Just remember, every bet has this built in, right? If you play the same bet long enough, that house edge will creep in. You will have enough winning and losing streaks to accommodate the casino and always lose that average number, okay? Every bet in the house has it. It's their profit margin. It's not a secret. It's not a scam. It's not nefarious. It's not shitty of them. It's just how they stay open. I like to give the example. To me, it's like a grocery store, right? Some products at a grocery store have small margins, right? Small profit margins, eggs, butter, milk, the staples, right? The store barely makes anything on them, right? But they need the staples to get you to walk inside, right? And if all anybody bought was bread, eggs, and milk, which is how it's going to be in New York someday, right? If all that's anybody did, they'd make a pittance, but they'd make it consistently, right? In the casino, that's your pass line bet. That's your 1.4 edge house and on the pass line. That's your banker's bet in Baccarat. That's the blackjack with good rules and a 0.5% because you're playing basic strategy, right? Those low margin bets. The casino makes money on those bets in volume, right? You playing for hours. They make that money on you playing for hours. And I've told you before, blackjack is one of the games, and Baccarat too, where part of the metric for the dealer's bonuses is how many hands per hour they're getting, right? Or they're dealing, right? It's all about speed. It's all about more outcomes per hour. That's how they make their money over time. You, by the way, in a 0.5% edge game, buying eggs all the time, right? It's when you get drunk or you play too long or you let your emotions get in or you let the bad streak hurt you and you make bad decisions, you turn that 0.5% house edge into enormous margins because they're expecting from you, the $25 bettor, about $1 an hour, right? You going on tilt gives them $10, $15, $20 an hour. Betting the side bets, doing dumb shit. That's where you got to be careful about it, right? So in the grocery store also, there's the ice cream aisle, right? They have their bread, egg, and milk. That's how they make their money. The ice cream aisle, the fancy cheese, right? The prepared foods in the deli, right? All those awesome, whatever. It's all optional. It's all delicious. None of it's probably any good for you, right? Especially if you overindulge. In the casino, that's the tie in Baccarat. That's the any 7 bet on a craps table. That's your Keno, your big 6-wheel, right? All those super high profit margin, right? Ice cream, by the way, costs about 50 cents to make a half a gallon of ice cream. They charge you $11 for it, right? That's the high margin stuff. It's the sweets, it's the goodies, right? That markup is enormous. It's designed to be tempting. The thing that you're getting for that huge markup is yummy, right? Just like the horn bet in the craps table. It's yummy when it wins, right? The question is, do you know which is which, right? And how the house edge actually is calculated. It's not magic. It's not that complicated. I'm going to show you here sort of visually or audibly how it works, okay? It's essentially the gap between, like I said, what a fair bet would pay and what the casino pays. And I have an example up there in roulette for you. We'll go through it in a minute. But finding out what it should be, if somebody had an edge, right? See what they give you instead. The difference, that percentage is how much they're keeping, all right? So here, we'll take a look at roulette, right? And let's say you got $1 on a number. $1 on the number 17, okay? There are 38 ways to win, or 38 ways the ball can land, right? There's 1 through 36 numbers, the 0 and the 00, okay? So your chance of winning is 1 in 38. Okay, 37 to 1 is the ratio there, right? So what would the fair payout be? If you have a 1 chance to win and 37 ways to lose, a perfectly fair bet would pay $37, right? You risk 1, you win 37. Now the casino would close down if they did that. They couldn't make any money, right? So what happens is over 38 spins, you would break even, and that's why they can't do it. So the casino actually pays 35. That's the gap. Right? Fair would be 37. They pay 35. They're keeping $2. 2 units, two units, right? For themselves, on average, every 38 outcomes. Again, over time, that spreads out. You're not going to get 38 perfect, but you're going to get, 38 million, you're going to get about perfect. That's the house edge, right? 2 out of 38, 5.26%. That's how they calculate it, right? Look at the formula on screen, right? It's the true odds minus the money they pay you, 37 minus the 35, right? Divided by the true odds, 37 plus 1, 38. That's how this works. That's exactly how the formula works. It's very simple, and you can do it for every bet in the casino, right? Here's another one, right? The any 7 bet in craps, right? Any dollar, if people $5 red, right? I hear it all the time on the come out throws, right? $1 red. If you roll a 7, you win. Anything else, you lose. It's a 1-roll bet. Okay, your chance of winning of that bet is 1 out of 6. 6 ways to roll a 7, 30 ways not to, right? That's 1 out of 7, or 1 out of 6 rather, right? It's fair odds would pay you 5 to 1. Bet $1, win a 5, break even. That's the way it should pay. What they actually pay you is 4 to 1. Okay, again, keeping a buck out of the 6 outcomes for themselves. That's the 16% that they're keeping. That's the house edge on that bet, by the way, 16% versus 1% or 0.5% on some other games. Isn't that amazing? You think about that, right? And again, it's a 1 out of 6 bet. Okay, and I want you to realize this. Well, let me finish the formula, and then we'll go. I want to come back to this point. It's very important to me, right? So tracing that money, imagine a perfect 36 rolls. 6 times you win, $4. That's $24. 30 times you lose $1. That's $30. Your exposure, remember exposure from the other day? $36 exposure. You have $36 in consistent action, right? Your expected loss from that 36 is $6. There's your 16% house edge. It's crazy town, right? Now, again, there's 6 ways for you to win that bet. 6 ways to win that bet. Every other way loses. Go to the roulette table and bet a double street. There's 6 ways to win a double street as well, right? 38 ways to lose, or 32 ways to lose that bet, okay? It's the same number of wins. 6 ways to win, more ways to lose on a roulette table than on a craps table. 6 ways to win, 30 ways to lose, right? You have a better chance, right? House edge and roulette, 5% versus 16%. If you're going to bet the any 7, go to the roulette table, bet a double street. It's the same, basically the same probability, same odds. 6 numbers on a roulette wheel versus the any 7 bet. The roulette wheel is 3 times better for you. And it still sucks, but it's 3 times better for you than the craps table is on the any 7 bet. That's how these numbers get calculated. You have to know this, okay? Once you see the pattern, how we calculate that, you can evaluate any bet anywhere, okay? You want to look at a side bet? What's the odds of making one of these side bets, right, in blackjack? What are the odds of getting in a randomly personed game, number of people playing, 2 red queens? What's the odds of that happening? Well, look, there's a way to find that out. Look at what the bet pays. It pays like 9 to 1 or some shit like that. I guarantee you, it's probably a 15 to 1 chance of it happening. They're giving you 9. It's something like that. That bet's like 22% house edge, right? Check what it pays, calculate the gap. And now you know whether you're buying bread or ice cream, okay? And I got to say this. I'd be remiss if I didn't, right? This has got to be made super clear. The lower the house edge does not make it a better bet or a better game. Okay, I know the math people will say this to you, right? The lower the risk, for sure. And the reward also is lower. A lower house edge bet typically plays 1 to 1 versus something else to 1, right? Given that, you will never see a perfect set of outcomes. You'll never see the ideal 36 rolls, the ideal 38 spins. You'll never see a perfect shoe, right? If you're on the favorable side of it, right? For example, you see 6 sevens or 7 sevens instead of 6 sevens in 36 rolls. If you're on that side of it and you're betting the any 7 bet, with the higher house edge, you can pull profit on that, right? If the variant that you're in is better for you, you see more sevens or more of that double street or more of whatever than you ought to. You're not beating the house edge, but you're going to be able to make profit, okay? The math guys, I think, can't wrap their heads around that, right? I had this argument, and I think I am a math guy, right? I know the math, I embrace the math, all that. I talk about it all the time, right? But I'm not beholden to it. I will make high house edge bets because of that. I understand variance better than I think they do. I know that I live in a variant all the time. I'm hopeful that the variant goes my way. That if I'm betting any 7, I'm going to see 7 sevens or 8 sevens out of 36 rolls while I'm there. And if I'm betting on it, I will pull profit on that. Even though it's a higher house edge bet, I can pull profit from it. And I can walk away with money. Okay? And I think that's why a lot of these guys live in the ether. When I say the math guys have given up, they're okay with that tie, right? Some of us are a little bit okay with leaning in some, right? Love the math guys. But that's an argument I love to have because I'd rather, right? Money buys stuff. Percentages don't buy stuff, right? So if I have to work harder to make money versus once in a while I get a little bit of a thing and I pop a high house edge bet, I'll take the profit. Right? It's you got to have the money versus percentage argument with stuff too. Just be honest about it. We do live in the variance, right? All right, heat. Even if you're not counting cards, understanding casino heat teaches you how they think. And I want you to really lean into this with me. You may not be a card counter, okay? But let's think about how casinos think, all right? Most of us will never catch any heat, right? I'm learning to get better at counting cards, but honestly, the bet spread I can do in a local casino isn't worth it, right? Most of us aren't hole carding, right? Looking at the dealers, looking for dealer mistakes, which I would consider cheating actually. Most of us aren't doing the edge sorting, right? Where the Phil Ivey thing, right? We're not really a threat, right? But I think if we understand the way that the heat touches you. Or I think the way the heat can touch you, it'll teach you something valuable, which is, again, how the casinos think about you. How do they view you, right? And heat is what happens when they suspect somebody has an edge, right? It starts subtle. Pit boss behind you or in front of behind your dealer, a little longer than normal. Maybe a suit you've never seen before walks by a couple times, right? It escalates, right? They ask for your ID. They might tell you to flat bet, which happens, right? At the extremes, they'll ban you, right? Or ask you to leave. Though you might even get trespassed, right? But their typical escalation path is going to be, get some ID, find out who you are. You don't have to give your ID, by the way. You do not have to give your ID. Not required. Ever, right? Understand that. And by the way, on this point, there's a video on Blackjack Apprentice podcast, I think it is. It's about an hour long where they interview a lawyer and they interview an agent, an actual Nevada gaming agent, and they talk about this exact topic, what you do and don't have to do, and what they do. And they can kick you out. They cannot take your money. I've seen cases where the heat comes and they say, you're out of here. We don't want your action. And the guy goes, and they won't let him color up. That's bullshit too. They can't follow you out to your car and take your chips. None of that stuff is legal. Right? But trust me, if they think you're in it, if they think you're winning and you got a system and you have an advantage, they're going to flat bet you, no more pressing. They will lower the table minimum so you can't get above $50 or they're not going to get hurt by you. They will not allow you to hurt them. Even a little tiny bit. One guy cannot hurt them one little tiny bit. They're not worried about hunches. They're not worried about the 1-3-2-4 betting system that John loves, right? They're worried about math. And if you attain some kind of mathematical edge that they can't overcome over time, bye-bye, you're done. That's how it is. They have staff that's trained to identify betting patterns that correlate with advantage play. AI, by the way, is now in cameras, right? Cameras can now pick up patterns, right? They have cameras now that can read all the cards on a table, and the AI system keeps the count, right? From above. The camera in the ceiling now can keep the count on a card game. And it also, because chips all your checks have chips in them, computer chips. They know where the money is. They don't have to see your stack. They can tell there's 2 blacks and 3 greens in this stack, and all of a sudden it went to 7 blacks, right? They can see the spread happening. There's AI now that just picks it up like that. Used to be people trained at this, and in small casinos that's still the case, right? But let me tell you something. They're spending millions of dollars to save hundreds, what it seems like hundreds. But trust, the betting patterns they're looking for, they will stop it, right? And the casino knows the threat. Disciplined, mathematical play with controlled bet spreads. All the things we talk about. Be disciplined, understand your math, have a good betting pattern, a good spread. They don't give a shit about superstition or hot streak or the drunk idiot that made a bunch of money. They could care less about that. That actually is good for them, right? That person tells a story and gets some more business, right? So just know, they look at you like a threat. Everybody comes in that door, by the way, they see as a potential threat. The casino sees everybody as a potential threat. Those cameras are there to protect the house, not protect you. Now, they do protect you if something happens to you, but they are there to protect them and their money, not you. That's how the casino views you, okay? If you never get heat, think about what triggers it. What could trigger heat? If you're doing some of those things, it makes you a smarter player. And you start seeing the floor the way they see it, all right? So, again, I think heat shows you what they really fear. It's not luck. It's not a streak. It's discipline. It's math. It's when someone... I'll close with this. Parents always said this to you, right? When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. That's the casino. They're showing you, with the money they spend on trying to stop this stuff, who they are. Believe them. Believe them when they tell you what their priorities are. Okay, let's get into some fun stuff. Hit and stand. Okay, every blackjack hand comes down to a moment for every player at the table, right? Hit or stand. Okay, a lot of players make that call with their gut, especially when they're drunk. It never ceases to amaze me, right? Again, I've shown you this, right? You have the cards. They give them to you. They give them to you, right? They give you the cards. You can have it at the table, yet people will still show up and go, or not know what the hell. I'll never understand. In the one game where you actually get a little bit of juice that can help you out, or even worse, right? Players will be in a bad state of mind, right? They're pissed off, they're frustrated, they're whatever, right? Smart players made the call to hit or stand before they sit down. Okay, so you know the examples, right? You got a 15 against a 10. Do or shit has 10, you got a 50. What do you do, right? Some people, I don't want to bust, man. I just got my tail kicked on a bad shoe. I'm not taking the fucking 10, right? That's people, right? It's the wrong play. The answer is to hit. You know, if you know the game, you know the answer is to hit. You don't want to do it. You're probably going to bust. The answer is to hit. Okay? The goal in blackjack is not to avoid busting. Okay, and I repeat that. The goal is not to avoid busting. The goal, lose less over time, right? Yes, you'll bust more often hitting a 15 against 10. Standing is worse. Over the course of 100,000 outcomes, standing 15 versus 10 versus hitting 15 versus 10, you will lose less often if you stand. Some of these hands are just bad hands. It just is. Not every hand's going to be a perfect 11 against a 6 double down. You're not going to have that every time. You're going to have shitty hands. And in a shitty hand, you do the best you can do, which is, all right, I'll lose that hand 1,000 times. I'll win the hand 1,050 times, whatever. Take the shot. It is what it is. That's sometimes what basic strategy is about. Losing less often than the other way. Okay? Basic strategy cards, they give you the answer to every hit or stand decision before you sit down. The 16 versus 10, some people it's a judgment call. It's not. It's a hit. Every time it's a hit. I don't care. Soft 18 versus 9 feels like a winner. No, you hit it. Every single time. The 12 versus the 4 that could go either way, you take that. You stand on that one, right? There's reasons for all these things. Having a 12 and letting that be your ride or die is not fun. It's not a fun hand to have. It's not great sitting there with a freaking 12 praying that the guy's going to get a bust card, right? But trust me, if you hit the 12, you will lose more often than if you stand on the 12 and get beat by the dealer. It's just the way it works, right? The moment you debate that, you got to stop. You've already lost the game, right? If you're in a place where you just got hurt on some other game, or that table even, 2, 3, 4 bad beats in a row, and you're like, fuck, I'm not giving this back. I'm not giving them another one. I'm going to stand on my 16. You've lost. You've lost for you, and you've ruined it for everybody else, right? It's not a decision that you make. It's just homework, right? The hit or stand decision, it's homework. Basic strategy takes all the guesswork away. It just does, all right? Now, let's talk about skill and luck, your favorite thing in the whole world. Let's go hedging. Hedging your bet sounds smart, right? You reduce your risk to protect your profit. In reality, it's usually paying extra for peace of mind that you probably don't need, okay? Can use a sports betting analogy, right? You got a big parlay going, 5 legs hit, 1 to go. The potential payout is $5K. You're tempted to bet $500 on the other side to guarantee the profit. Either way, right? This can work better in sports betting than other situations, right? I know guys that do it, especially when you have an early play. And I'll give you a good example. I may still do this. Okay, I may actually do this when I go to the casino Friday. We'll see what happens. Or on Sunday. Here's my situation as a hedge better. I put a bunch of money on the Seahawks in April when I was in Vegas, right? Before the season started. The Seahawks were not expected to do well. The over-under for them was 8 wins this year, by the way, right? I knew they were going to win 14 games before the season started. I've been following this team. I know the defense. Trust me, this is not a surprise what they've done. Right? I got a bunch of money on them to win the conference, and then a smaller amount of money to win the Super Bowl. Okay, a good $3,000-$4,000 payout looming, right? If they go to the Super Bowl, very easily. If they win this week against the Niners, and they come back next week. Now, again, my investment on that bet is $100. Okay, I got 100. Who cares? $100. Who cares? Right? I could very easily, if they win next week or this Sunday. If they're playing for the championship, that $3,600 cashes for me, right? I could very easily go bet the Rams or whoever they're going to play for, whatever, $40 and win either way. $40 will win me $250 on the other team. My standing bet wins me $3K. I'm up no matter what. It's a lot like looking at the ATS when somebody has one number to go and you lay the number to win to guarantee money. Okay, it's a smart play, guaranteed money. However, over time, if you math that whole thing out, it loses over time, right? Over time, that's a bleed, right? Because every hedge bet also has the house edge. And when you hedge, you're basically paying them 2 times, right? Again, on big bets, I get it. On little tiny bets, doesn't make any sense, right? Mathematically, you're giving up some EV for a reduced variance, and it's just a thing, right? One of the most common hedges that you'll see in the casino, there's 2 that are super common. One is in blackjack, right? The dealer has an ace, you have a strong hand, right? You can bet insurance, right? Remember this, insurance, by the way, is a side bet, 7% house edge. It's almost always wrong. It's a terrible bet to make, right? But you're trying to protect your goodness. Now, craps, we know, tons of hedging in craps, right? Players spend hours trying to cover every possibility and thread the needle, right? What ends up happening is you open up more larger holes as you chase perfection, right? Guaranteeing losses and devaluing your bets to protect yourself, all right? As an example, and I think I can probably do this on my table. Let me see. Let's see if we do this. Let me try it. Let me just try it real quick, and we'll come. If it doesn't work, we'll come back. Camera, please work. Come on, camera, you can do it. Come on, camera. Camera, come on. If I do this, there we go. All right. That's not the greatest view of my table, but you see my new toy? Look at my new toy. I know you guys can probably. It's a popper. I got a trouble popper for my dice rolls. Anyway, let's say you're this guy. Let's say you've got like $100 on the don't, right? And you're worried about that bet. We can actually do it with a quarter or $30, right? Let's take a quarter, right? A quarter is an easy one to look at. You can protect this bet lots of ways, right? People are worried about that. It's a hard bet to get out because it loses on a 7, right? So you can put, $20 $2 out there on the yo. Where's my yo? It's right here. $2 on the yo wins you 30, right? Covers the bet. So if I lose this bet, I win 30. I'm up $5, right? That's fantastic, right? On the 7, how can I beat the 7 on this here? Well, if I look at the any 7 bet, right? Let's say I bet like $5 on the any 7, right? The way that this bet pays, by the way, is 4-1, right? So I would get paid $20. Doesn't quite cover that. Maybe I put, $7 on the any 7, right? 7 times 4 is $28, okay? Which is kind of cool. But 7 comes out. I lose my quarter. I lose my 2. I win 28. I'm back, and I have $1 in profit. And you go, my God, I'm a fucking genius. Look at me, I'm a genius, as David would say, right? I would say to you, what that hedge does is a couple of things, right? This hedge, to protect a bet, I see people laying the 9, laying numbers, right? Same idea, right? This devalues this, okay? A straight up hedge devalues it. What I mean by that, let's say the shooter rolls, let's get the popper out, and they roll a midnight, okay? That doesn't, let's look at the midnight. It's such a good case, right? The midnight, what happens? Nothing happens here, tie, right? You just lost $9. Okay, we'll put the money back. Let's go $7 here. Let's go $2 here. Now we're down 9. Let's catch a number. The number is a 9. Great. The puck goes to the 9. Right? What happens? Lose and lose. Now you've lost 10, 15, 16, 17. You've lost $18 on the way to getting your awesome don't pass bet out. Do the math, please. What's that bet worth? That bet right there is now worth grand total of $7. You burned 18 to get 25 free. Out there, clear. You devalue the bet when you hedge. The casino got their house edge on all those bets that we lost over here. All those high house edge bets, they got their money. They got your money plus the house edge, right? This bet now is worth $8. Now you have it. Now what you have effectively is an $8 don't pass bet. And a lot of people will take that what they think is a $25 don't pass bet and bet a $12 6 and 8 and think they've got the game figured out. Right? Now I got it covered, right? I got a $12 6 and 8. I can't lose. When reality they're looking at that thinking they can't lose. In reality they have this, right? And when the 7 comes in, it takes $24 and they win the 8. They're actually down another $16. This is where your rack goes. When you're a hedge player, that's where your rack goes, right? These things bleed you dry. Now, the other case of a one-roll bet, let's use the example: $25 don't pass, and I'm gonna hedge that off with maybe a $40 no 5 or a $40 no 9. Okay, 45, that pays 30, right? That pays $30. If a 7 comes, I lose 25, I win 30. I got $5 in the hand, and I'm like, hey man, I'm a freaking genius, right? I'm a genius. But when the $45 loses, and it will, you're gonna catch that number as a point sometimes with this don't pass bet down here. When that happens, you still have, your don't pass. Now you have no 5 for $25, but you're down. You're starting the hand down $20, right? You lost the 40, getting the point set. Your $25 don't, right? 25 of it you can call it okay. You're down the difference before you start the hand. You're already down $20. Nothing you can do. All you can do is take another set of dough and run it out there, probably as odds, right? Do one of these numbers here, right, and stack it up as odds. You're fighting behind. Hedging is people will say it all the time. Hedging is one of these things where it's kind of a guaranteed loser. I'm going to go me to the left here, right? Me to the right. Hedging is one of those deals where it's a guaranteed loser over time. And the devaluation of other bets is what kills it for me. Insurance and blackjack kills your other bet. It just does, right? And again, Skill, you're making my point. You take odds against. Right? Okay, fine. So I eat shit on the come out. I put odds against it, and you're putting more money after bet, right? Hedging will eventually tear you apart. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the truth, right? In my personal opinion, again, this is John talking to the world here. I would rather play a clean game. Just play it clean as much as you can. You're going to get beat on the come out when you're playing the don't pass. You're going to get beat on your great hand in blackjack by the dealer pulling a great set of cards. You take your lumps, but take the smallest lump you can and take it clean and win clean the next time. I think trying to chase it around, to me, it's too much headspace. Number one, it's too complicated. God forbid you have one beer while you're trying to do all that stuff. You'll make a mistake. So anyway, there's that. For regular gambling, right, you're paying for emotional comfort. That's what that is. You're making yourself feel better about it, right? It's expensive insurance. I know Ken does it a lot too. He'll put, $200 laying the 10 to get a $100 don't pass out. And boy, when that 10 gets whacked, unless you're laddering, making up the $200 you just lost is really, really hard to do. It just is hard to do, right? So my advice, suck it up, eat the house edge on the bet you wanted to make in the first place. That's just me. Okay? But know it. The example I gave you should show you what that looks like in real life. If the bad thing happens, and the bad thing will happen, you lay the 9 or lay the 5 with a don't pass out there, and that becomes the point. You start the hand upside down. You have to now lay a bunch of odds or get really lucky in the hand to win. It just is. If you hedge a one-roll bet in craps to get something through, right? When that thing gets through, it's devalued by the amount you lost on the one roll bet. It's the unseen bleed that I think people are not willing to confront, right? Some of you, I know Skill and Luck plays this way a lot. Fine. He's done the math. He's happy playing that way. That's all good. The regular player who has not put time and effort into it, right, and is doing that unknowingly, is making a huge mistake. You're just making a huge mistake. So just be careful. Hedging is something to be not trifled with. Okay, it sounds great. Sports betting is the outlier here. Okay, now let's talk about hybrid play because it's a difference. All right, and again, I'm going to go to my table here. I want to give some bonus content here about hybrid play because it kind of ties into hedging. And specifically, I want to talk about craps, and specifically, I want to shine a spotlight here on a good friend of mine, Jacob, who runs the channel Wager Me This. If you haven't seen his channel, most of you are my friends. I know you have seen his channel. Jacob's awesome. Go to Wager Me This. He's an amazing craps mind. Good dude. Great channel. Right? He is a hedge player. And I'm gonna try and do a little bit of justice to what he talks about. Okay? But hybrid play is different than hedge play. Than a hedge, okay? Hedge is trying to fix something short term. It's protection, okay? Hybrid play is you're playing both sides at the same time for a long period of time. If you do it properly, right, you can get ahead of probability a little bit. I'm going to show you a little bit of what Jacob is talking about here. So let me run to a different screen here and make that a little clear. I'm going to go to the let's see, I'm going to go to this screen, but I'm going to run to this other background. So hold on one second. We don't have a good, where's my table time? There it is. Okay. Hey, how'd that get so jankety? All right, there it is. That fits? Let's do it. Let's talk Jacob's hybrid. Okay. And we'll use a big number example. And I want to just explain what the difference of hybrid and hedging is. Again, a hedge, let's say I've got 150 on the don't. Okay, $150. I'm going to spread it out so you can see it. Okay, 150 on the don't it's a okay number. Actually, we can do we'll do 100. I'll do it in greens. I want you to see the chips. It's a little easier. We'll do $100 don't. Okay, I'm not going to roll the dice. We're just going to make some pretend things that happen, right? So $100 don't. Now remember, the hedge of this, if you wanted to try and hedge $100, well, how can I win $100 on the 11? Well, 4 times 11 or 4 times 15 is 120, right? So it's 15, 30, 60, 90. You need $5, right? You need $5 out here to save that one, right? On the NE7, you would need to win $100. So that's 4 times. You need a quarter out here, right? At least to save the 100, right? You're talking about a third of your bet, right? That's a hedge. Hybrid play, eat this. Whatever comes, comes. Okay, now, what Jacob preaches to you is this. Coverage. Okay, hybrid is not a 1-for-1 type of thing. Okay, you have $100 on the don't, and the point becomes a 9. Okay, what Jacob does is he plays a differing system depending, right? If it's the 5, 6, or 8, he plays the iron cross. If it's anything else, he plays a cross. Okay, with $100 to quote unquote play with, how do you use that money the best? Well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can go 15 on each number, right? So let's do the math on that. There's 15, there's 30, there's 45, there's 60, there's 75, right? 75 plus the caps, 78, 81. Okay, $81 across, $15 per number, that besides the one you have on the don't, right? You have $100 here. You're covered. Jacob calls this coverage. Every bet wins except for the 9. Everything wins except for the 9. Any of these numbers come, of course, they're all paying $21. Those are paying $27. Down here, if the 7 happens to come, you lose 81. You win 100. You're still winning $19, right? Every number wins for you. The 7 in hybrid play needs to be a winner. It needs to be a winner. That's the Jacob way, right? If the 9 happens to come, that's your one shot of getting your ass kicked. But what we've done here is we've shifted the probability from being 1 in 6 ways to lose down here, right? 6 ways to lose down here to 4 ways to lose on the 9, right? Instead of having 6 ways to lose, you have 4 ways to lose. So you transfer the ugly to a number with a less chance of winning. That's hybrid play, right? And what he does, he plays these numbers out. He's looking for a good roll. Collect, 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 then start pressing, right? Pull $60 into your rack, right? Remember, your coverage here is about $19, right? If the 7 happens to come, right, you lose 81, you win 100, you're $19. So 19 plus 21 plus 21 plus 21, that's 63 plus 19, that's $74, right? Now your don't pass bet, your exposure is a quarter. That's what he's trying to do. Keep the 7 strong. If the 9 happens to come, it costs you a quarter. That's the idea of a hybrid, right? Played correctly, the hybrid is what he calls coverage. More here than here. Every number wins. You're not playing for a tie. I know people who will do this, and he says this all the time. How often do you see this, right? Numbers at 10, and you go here. 110 inside, right? Hey, I got $100 on the don't. I'm 110 inside, and I am good in the hood, right? No, you're not. You're upside down. The 7 is a loser. 7's a loser now, right? You can lose $100 on the 10. You will lose $10 on the 7, right? You turned a potentially guaranteed quote-unquote profit roll into a guaranteed loser by still losing on the 7. Now you've got 6, 7, 8, 9 ways to lose versus having 3 ways to lose. If you just did that, if you let the 9 go, for example, you'd have 3 ways to lose because the 7 here still wins you money. 7 wins you $15 in this case, right? So that's hybrid play. Hybrid play, to me, is interesting. I don't do it a lot. I respect the guys that do it. I think it's an interesting way to play. Again, it's not my cup of tea, but doesn't have to be, right? I mean, where's my... There we go. Let's go back over to here. Hybrid play. Hybrid play. So, not my cup of tea, but the guys that play it, that have put thought into it, that's the difference between a hybrid where you have coverage versus a hedge where you don't. Okay? 2 different ways to play. All right? And again, go see Jacob. He does video after video where he really dives into the whys, wherefores, and how that all works. It's interesting stuff. I know that math people are crawling out of their skin saying you're giving it up on both sides. I get it, right? But playing for a long run, it's not a bad way to play, to hang in there. Better than, to me, a straight hedge. So there's that one. All right, what's next for us in the H here? H is the hosts. Yes. I am one. As you know, I work with Premier Casino Hosting, right? So I'm what they call a sub rep, right? I'm a sub host. Although I am your friend, right? My people, right? I'm your friend. Casino hosts in general aren't your friend, right? They act like your friend. They're also not your enemy. It's a business relationship, okay? And treating it like one is how you can extract some actual value, okay? So what they are, in reality, they're a customer retention specialist, right? Their job is to keep you gambling. Casino host jobs are to keep you gambling. That's it, right? When we do a cruise, we set up a craps cruise. Why are we doing that, right? We want to have fun, right? We want to have a great time. As a host on a craps cruise, we set up 2 excursions for you. We make sure you have a great room. We make sure you've got show ticket, all the things, right? That we want to have a great experience, right? The whole point, though, is get your ass in that casino. Why? There's a commission at the end of the road for the host. Host makes money. It's just accurate how this works, right? The goal is to make sure your action stays at that property or the ones they represent instead of going somewhere else, right? Again, offering comps, food and beverage, show tickets, loss rebates, free play, all sorts of shit, right? That's a transactional relationship. You provide action, they provide perks. The casino provides commission to the host based on your action. So the bigger you play, the more time you spend, the games you choose to play, all that comes back to the host. Whether it's a private host like us or an in-house host at the casino. That's the way that it works, okay? Understand that, right? You can negotiate from a position of clarity with your host rather than hoping for a favor, right? And there's steps you can take, right? Number 1, get rated, right? If you're not playing with your card, you don't exist to the house. They have no way of giving you anything. They cannot give you a room, a hot dog, a pack of gum if they don't know what your kind of player you are. You have to give them your card to make it work, right? 2, be consistent. Be reliable. They don't want somebody who shows up once a year and goes on tilt. That's not in the host's favor. Yeah, they'll bring you in and give you a room, but you're not going to get full attention, right? If you want a host and you want that relationship, build the relationship. Know your worth. If you're averaging $50 a hand for 4 hours, you can estimate your Theo, what your loss is likely to be. Know that number. You should know your own number. What is your theoretical loss? Know that number because your host knows it, right? And the things you ask for need to be within the realm of that. If you're a $100 Theo player, you can't get a steak dinner. If you're a $5,000 a weekend Theo player, you're going to get a nice dinner and maybe tickets to the comedy show, right? 4th, you got to ask, right? Hosts do have some discretion. They can lean in here and there, right? Offer letter you got in the mail says a free night, ask for 2 or ask for a night plus dinner. Doesn't cover the steakhouse, ask anyway. Right? Again, your host knows you, especially if they are your actual relationship, if they know you. Say, I'm going to play. I got my son in town. It's his 21st birthday. Can we get some dinner? Right? They'll hook you up. If you ask. If you don't ask, and ask politely, right? Persistence will work. And just remember, the relationship that you have with your host only exists for one reason. It exists because you're losing money, right? The comps are a rebate on your losses, not a gift, not an enticement. It's not a congratulations. It's a rebate on what you've lost. That whole relationship depends on you having consistent action and losing money. That's what it's all about. Hosts make money on player losses. It's just we don't get a percentage of your loss, right? We get a percentage of your theoretical loss, of your action, of your sustained action. That's why hosts want you to play. That's why they find private tables for you. They set things up so you can all go together and play. It's going to be a big weekend, right? It's trust me. The game of that is to get you all there to play and increase the Theo, right? Everything is a game. And just know it going in. Know it going in. It's not like it's adversarial. It's just the relationship. Know that going in so you can make better calls and better asks, right? Hosts give value to action, right? Know your worth, ask for what you want. And don't forget, they're a business partner. They may be your friend, but they are a business partner in this context. So that's an important thing. All right, let's close it up here on Hot Streaks. They're real. They happen. What's not real is expecting it, predicting it, changing strategy because something's due, right? While you're in one, though, you better lean the hell in. And this is important, okay? And I want to make this perfectly clear, right? Hot streaks are real. They happen. If you flip a coin 1,000 times, I guarantee you, somewhere in there is going to be 12 heads in a row. 8, 10, whatever. 12, you're going to get massive streaks. It happens, right? Here's the thing. You want to hear something funny? This is another one of these weird studies that I was privy to. There's a there's a part of like building AIs and stuff like this. How does a computer determine whether or not somebody's like a real person or a machine? Okay, like there was a study done on the coin flip, and the computer, the coder's jobs were to write a computer algorithm that could determine if this set of outcomes, heads or tails, was given to the computer by a person or generated randomly. And in chat, actually, right now, who's in chat? We have 25 people here. Somebody in chat, all of you. How does the computer programmer, how did the guy that won the contest, right? What was the algorithm? Like, how did he figure out to make the computer try and find randomness versus humans giving it a series of heads or tails flips? I'd love to know what you guys think the answer to this question is. Okay, I'll go on while you're typing, and when I come see it, we'll type through it. Okay, here's the thing. Mathematics expects this, right? Random numbers do produce clusters. A random sequence rather produce clusters. It happens, right? And the problem for us, right, in the casino is not recognizing a streak. It's what you do with the streak. And again, you can't predict it, right? When you're on a hot streak, your brain tells you a story, right? I'm feeling it. It's lucky, right? All those thoughts or none of those thoughts rather are connected to reality. They're just not, right? The dice don't know you just won 5 passes in a row. The cards don't know your last hand, right? The dangerous flip of it is this: when the streak ends, players think they're due for another one, right? So they chase, they increase their bets, right? They stay longer than they plan, right? They give back everything the streak gave them. This is what happens, right? You got to enjoy the hot streak. Okay, they don't happen that often when you're happen to be there. They happen often, but you're not always there, right? It's the best part of gambling, right? How many times, right? I've done it a number of times. I felt at a table. I was on a table in AC recently where we felt at the table. It happens, right? It's the best. Great stories, right? Ride it while it lasts. The I in bridge, identify opportunity. When you're in a streak like that and you've got your money back and you're able to lay wood, lay the wood. When you get a chance to lay wood, lay it. Hammer them when you get the chance. Bet aggressively. Keep collecting, but bet aggressively and get the money out there, right? When you're in it, you can't know that it's going to keep going, but in the moment, identify it and hammer it. If you think you can predict that it's coming again, you're lost. That's when you start giving it back. If that happens and you identified it and you go and it's over, get out. Get out. I say this all the time. Run the 1-3-2-4. Run a 4 or 5 leg parlay. Run a 6 leg parlay in blackjack someday. Try it. Go to a $5 table and run a 6 leg parlay. When that thing hits and you win $700 out of a $5 bet, you're identifying time to leave, right? They happen. They're not magic. Enjoy them when they come. Lean into them when they're there. But don't ever bet on it coming back. That's the thing. So you got to hammer the hot streaks. All right. To go back to my question, I'm looking at some of the things. Let's see. I asked you about the math study, right? How would a computer program know that it's a person who generated 100 random or 100 coin flips versus a computer? I'm looking for answers here. I never go. Let's see. Yeah, so I say right a lot. Don't I say right a lot? My God, you should bet on that someday, right? Now, the thing is, the study showed that people, when they submit a set of outcomes, like coin flips, they'll never do more than 3 or 4 in a row, ever. Like the outlier, out of 1,000 people, 2 might have a streak of heads or tails more than 4. Computers do it all the time. Randomness happens. The streaks happen in randomness, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row. Humans will never do it. Humans will never predict because they don't want to look like they're cheating. Can you believe that? That'll tell you something, by the way, about the way the human mind works, right? We're looking for these hot streaks, but nobody believes it can actually happen. Like, you're always got this weird protectionary thing in front of you. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all for letter H, right? I have the, let's see what's going on here. We have, why is my camera still on? Hello? There we go. Okay, sorry about that. New buttons to press. All right, so here's our takeaway. The casino isn't hiding anything, right? House Edge is public knowledge. Surveillance is visible. The games are what they are. Your job is not to find secrets. It's to understand what you're playing, right? Know the edge. Recognize that hot streaks are math, not magic. Treat your host like that business relationship that it actually is. The house has rules. And hopefully you've got some rules too, okay? So Monday we'll come back. We'll do letter I, independent thinking. We'll talk about insurance, intuition, why your gut is often wrong at the table, okay? I hope this helps you see things a little bit differently. And if it does, of course, subscribe, share, all those things, right? Help get the word out for everybody. What is happening here? What is happening with my screens? Oh, my gravy. Wow. I need to go here. What is going on? I really need to fix this. That's there, but the words aren't there. What the hell's going on? It's like the buttons aren't timed right. Well, my shows. I got some work to do still. All right, I'll leave you here. You're either part of the steamroller or you're part of the pavement. I love this quote. I've actually got it. It's hanging up out there on a picture. It's one of the greatest statements of all time. You can live your life as a victim, right? Or as the bully. I will tell you this, the casino never plays the victim. They are always the steamroller. This is your chance. These shows I'm doing, watching guys like Waylon, watching guys like Ken, watching guys like Jacob, listening to Skill, right? Watching the podcast from Ed. This is the way that you fight back a little bit against them, right? Don't be part of the pavement. You kind of are because of the house edge. Don't lean into that. Start pushing back. This series is all about learning how to push back. Love y'all. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow for Friday Follies. We'll have a little bit of fun. No lecturing. Maybe I won't say right quite so much, Waylon. Love y'all. Bye.